All right, I think we are live. Again, we'll give a second to refresh here, let some people jump on, monitor the chat. Still getting used to all this new fancy equipment I got here. Love it, love it. Let me mute this. All right, give it a second, let some people get on. All right. So before we dive into it, Mike, why don't we give everybody an update? Like what's new in your world? What's going on in your STR business? Or we're letting some people jump on.
Yeah, it's been busy. So we have 6 units now. We were at one, and our 7th we were at this past weekend in Brevard. So we got 2 in Brevard, North Carolina. This will be a 3rd. And so we're installing locks, talking about expectations, getting pictures done last week. Closing on a house in Raleigh on Thursday. So that'll be another STR. And then my wife's mom closed on a place. Shout out to Donette Hancock if she's watching. Closed on a place in Atlantic Beach, North Carolina. So we're going to be managing that as well. So scaling fast. We're going to have 9 units that are all going to be on Airbnb. So just setting up those processes and making sure everything's clean for the launch. So I'm excited.
I love it, man. That's awesome. That is awesome. Wow, you got more going on than I do now. Now that we got the hotel set up, I got one more going live that I just found out. I'm gonna go check it out. Hopefully tomorrow morning. Nice 2-bedroom in Salem, which should be a really profitable unit, like right in downtown. It should crush it. So I'm excited for that one. So we were talking offline, kicking around some different ideas, different topics. So today what we're going to cover is what to look for in a property management system, because that is one of the most crucial tools that you can have in this business to create the automation so that you're not giving yourself another job and you're setting yourself up to create a business that can run without you, over time, or at least with minimal involvement, 2 to 4 hours a week. I consider that pretty passive. So Mike, for you, we don't even need to name drop systems just yet, but like for you, what are you looking for with a property management system? What's some functionality that the listeners should look for when they're shopping? Because there's a million of them out there, but for you, what are some of the more important features?
Yeah. So you got to think of the core of the business, right? Being able to communicate with the guests. You don't want to be messaging guests, check-in instructions or check-out instructions, or just simple things that can be automated, like, after their first night, you check in with them in the morning to see how things went. So communication with the guests, communication with the cleaners and any maintenance people. Also, another cool thing that we implemented with our PMS is we have a 4 unit, and 2 are Airbnbs and 2 are long-term rentals. So I actually have an automation where whenever somebody books in the 4 unit, I text the other 2 long-term rentals, those tenants, and let them know, like, hey, somebody's staying here from this date to this date. So they're aware and they're happy because we communicate with them. So little things like that that you can automate so that you don't have to manually text people instructions or text people when people are coming in. So those are some things to look out for that I think are very important, that can be time consuming. And also too, in our PMS system, when guests respond, it doesn't go straight to my phone. Yes, I get notifications, but when guests or some of my tenants respond, it goes through that portal, and I get to check in that portal. I have my team check the portal to see what the notifications are. So my phone's not blowing up. It doesn't blow up often, but this is a business that we're trying to automate as much as possible and provide a good guest experience. But at the same time, I don't want my phone going off like crazy at all hours, so that's very important as well.
Yeah, 100%. So I know for me, one of the things I look for in addition to what you're saying is I want to create a centralized hub. So I'm looking for integrations. So I'll share my screen in a second here because I think folks will find it helpful. when I think of the business and I try and break it down into chunks, I want to be able to have that central hub to run through everything. So everything is talking to each other. So it creates a seamless flow. So like if I look at, share my screen here for a second. If I think of like my PMS, my property management system, like you were saying, I wanted to be able to talk to the guests. I wanted to be able to communicate with my cleaners and set up tasks and notifications for them through that. I want to be able to process payments. So I'm looking for an integration with Stripe or some type of payment processor for direct bookings. For the longer term, you don't need to worry about that initially, but that's something to start thinking about when you're getting started. I want it to integrate with whatever lock system that I'm using for me. So then again, my PMS, when I get a booking, it's going to tell my locks, hey, we got a booking. And then it's going to create a code, which then comes back to the PMS, which then I can message out to the guests automatically. I'm looking to see what marketing channels it integrates with, Airbnb, Vrbo, booking.com, any other websites that you want to get on, any of those OTAs. And I want it to integrate with my pricing software. So whether that's Wheelhouse, Beyond Pricing, Price Labs, whatever tool you're going to use for pricing, I want all of these to integrate here. And then I have a couple other things to consider, like around security. Like I like to use the Ring cameras. That doesn't necessarily integrate with my PMS, but that's okay. And now that I have a team, locally and virtually, we needed a phone system so that if somebody called one of my listings on Airbnb, it's not going to my phone anymore. It's going to who's ever on call on my team. So we use a voice over IP service. I'll just tell you, like we're using Ring Central now. I've tried Uma, that was fine for a while, but now, all the hotels, all the short-term rentals we run through Ring Central. So depending on who's on shift, it's going to call it's going to ring to their phone, and it's going to tell them, is this somebody calling from the STR side? Is this somebody calling from the Cove, or is this somebody calling from Beverly, the new hotel? So they're going to know how to answer the phone the right way when they pick up that phone call. So this is how I like to chunk down the business and think of it simply through like an illustration of like, all right, my PMS, I want it to integrate with the pricing software, all the marketing channels, the access with locks and stuff like that, a payment processor, be able to manage my turnovers and cleans, and then be able to communicate with the guests and automate a lot of that process. So hopefully you guys find that visual helpful. But when you want to chunk, I'm always trying to think about how can I chunk my business down and how can I create that hub, that central hub that I can run everything through and just have those spokes that are going out to the different components of the business. So there's a lot of different options out there. Depending on how many channels you want to get on, do you want a direct booking website? All these different things to consider. So I know I've personally used in the past, I've used Smart B&B, I've used Hostfully, I've used Guesty. I have not used Your Porter, which is one of the newer ones. I have heard good things about it. I just personally haven't used it. For the newer folks, I typically recommend Smart B&B. It's very user-friendly, very easy to use. They are working on setting up direct bookings now, which is really cool. So once they have that feature integrated, it's going to be nice. And they integrate with Airbnb, Vrbo, booking.com. I'm sure Price Labs, all that stuff. Yep. So I will, I'll dig up a link for that because I think I have some type of free trial if people want to check it out. I'll find that link and I'll post it down in the comments in a little bit. That's the one that I typically recommend for people to start with. And it has great analytics too. So as you keep elevating and growing your business, you're going to want to understand your numbers and what that looks like and different key metrics, because at 40 something units now, I physically could not be involved in all the operations, even if I wanted to, right? I don't want to, but even if I did, like there's just too many moving pieces at this point. So I need to be able to focus on key metrics in my business to know that we're moving in the right direction. And if we're not, I have each member of our team, and I was actually reviewing this with the team earlier, each person on the team, they own some of those metrics. So if they start dipping, like that's on them and we hold them accountable for that, right? And so it's really setting those up and starting to train yourself to think like a CEO, not a technician inside the business. And the first step is getting that PMS in place.
Yep.
Any other points you want to touch on, Mike, from a PMS standpoint?
No, not that I can think of really specifically. I've used Smart B&B for a while now. They can I automate a lot of questions about pets, questions about coffee. I get the coffee question so often. So now what I do now is
people just asking, do you have a coffee maker?
Yeah, and I've got a picture in the listing like what kind of coffee we have. It's always, is it Keurig or is it drip coffee? so now we have, if we detect coffee, or if Smart B&B detects coffee in the message from the guest, we just send a picture of what kind of coffee maker we have in that unit, and they're all the same. They're all the Keurig Duos, which do the drip and the K-cups. So
you went that route, so it does both.
yeah, it does both, but we only provide the K-cups just because it's easier to provide. It's not really fresh, but fresher than drip coffee. So
love it. I love it. Well, we got some people on here live. If you guys have questions, now is your chance to ask Mike and myself your questions about property management systems. I'm curious, post in the comments for those of you that have units up and running. What are you guys using? And do you like it, or are you looking to make a change? So I'll give that a second. I know there's a little bit of a delay, but I'm curious. I really want to know what people are using. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What are the questions you have about the property management system? Because this is something, and I will say, is in the mastermind, I've had students ask me to test out different PMSs in the past, and I've done it, and it's a pain in the butt, man. Because migrating listings over to a new one is a real pain in the butt. But I've done it a couple of times to test out some different ones. So what I would say is do your homework now, figure out what one is going to make the most sense for you, and try to think a little more long-term. Like, what are my goals? How big do I want to go? What functionality am I looking for? And then make this best decision based on that. And then at some point, if you need to upgrade or change, try and do that in your off season. You don't want to do it like now in July in like the middle of peak season, because there's just too many moving parts, too much room for error. You know, for us, our slower season tends to be around like November. So if I was going to make a change, it's going to be in like November. So keep that in mind. Jason said, what do you use to manage owner accounting? Okay. So there's a couple different things that you can do. For the mastermind students, I actually built out like a template inside a Google Sheet so they can drop in all their transactions and it'll create a profit and loss for them by property. It depends on how many properties you have, Jason. If you've got one or two, like keep it simple, use something like that, or you can try and use QuickBooks if you're familiar with that. At the scale that I'm at now, like I still have my team updates our internal Google Sheet every week, so I know where we're at, but I also have an accounting firm that I work with that does my books for all my different businesses. So, but again, it costs a lot more. I mean, that's thousands of dollars a month that I spend just on accounting. So you don't want to have to invest that much upfront. Just keep it simple and lean, as long as you know, and reconcile it to your bank statements every month. So like where my team's importing the transactions, and then at the end of the month, I send them a CSV file of the bank statement, and they go through and make sure we've got every single transaction in there categorized properly. Kathy said, I just have one unit so far, so I am managing it with automated emails through Airbnb. Okay, that's fine. Kathy, one thing I would recommend is at least start using a dynamic pricing tool if you're not already, because Airbnb's pricing is going to be significantly less than what it should be. What else we got, guys? I know we got a few more people on here, so let us know what questions you have.
Yeah, on the back to the accounting, I use QuickBooks. I mainly use it because I want to learn. I took accounting back in college, but I don't remember much about it. So it's been a good learning exercise for me, especially as we have more units, just tracking P&L for each one. I did use the Google Sheet that you gave us, Mike, and it's really good to start off with. But I have a bank account for each property now that I own, so it makes it a little bit easier to track some of those P&Ls.
100%. I'm just trying to see if I find that link for you guys for Smart B&B. Yep. So with this link, you get a 14-day free trial. Let me just test this and make sure it's actually working. I haven't used this in a while. Should give you a 14-day free trial. So post this in here. This is for Smart B&B. That'll refresh in just a second. And then Kathy is asking about dynamic pricing tools. Again, I will post a link in there. I recommend Price Labs. Got a link here for you. You can get a 30-day free trial of that. I have heard great things about Wheelhouse. I know the founder and the CEO really well. He's a great dude. Andrew Kitchell, awesome guy. I've just used Price Labs and I just know it really well. So that's what's worked for me, but I'll post that link in here for you. So you can check that out. And again, that's a 30-day free trial on Price Labs and a 2-week free trial on Smart B&B. So you guys can check those links out. Hopefully that was helpful. Any other questions you guys have, post them in the chat. Again, we want to keep these like short and punchy, but we want to give you guys value. We're just popping in here, doing these every single week, same time, 4:30 EST, right before we do our weekly mastermind calls at 5 o'clock. So anything else, Mike, you want to throw in?
No, just let us know what you guys are interested in, what you want to hear about, what you want to see. We can do a lot of screen sharing. We can analyze deals, just whatever you guys want to see, whatever adds value. And yeah. And then also tune into Mindset Monday, where it's more about the mindset and how to continually learn and progress your life. And then Tuesdays is through short-term rentals. So.
100%. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Jason's asking about door locks. We could do a whole video on door locks, honestly. So maybe we'll make that one of our Tuesdays with Mike and Mike, because there's a lot of different options out there. I've tested a few of them. We'll table that one. That'll be a good discussion for people, because it's always, people tend to like to geek out on the techie stuff. So I'm happy to talk about it. But let's wrap it up for this week. Mike, thank you for being here with me, buddy. Appreciate it. And everybody else for tuning in live. Appreciate you guys. Again, every Monday, we're going to do 12:30 EST. We got Mindset Mondays in here. And then Tuesdays at 4:30 EST, we've got our Tuesdays with Mike and Mike talking all things short-term rentals. So as always, thank you guys so much for showing up, playing full out. Really appreciate you guys. Let us know what other questions you have down in the comments. And if you have suggestions for future videos, let us know, because we're here to just add value to you guys. It's totally free. As a thank you for being part of the Short-Term Rental Secrets community. Make sure you check out the podcast, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care, everybody.